Hello, sir.
On the record. How's it going?
Yeah, very good. It's going better for you, though, apparently.
I'm having a good day.
Yeah. Should I do this? This one looks like a beam me up thing. It's a phaser or something.
What is that? Doctor's instrument.
Yeah. What's next door? Is that?
They're waiting. I think they're waiting for you.
Yeah, they're waiting for your line. Okay, so we don't want to take any pictures during this. We're just going to try to make it really, really quick. And go by number. Any ground rules we want to set. We obviously can't talk about any spoilers on the show. We'll do one quick question.
You could try.
So if these guys can give you a one-word answer, yes, the wrong question. No follow-up. And that is it.
Who's first? And Jonathan James.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for being here with us.
It's a pleasure.
We had talked before about the fact that you don't do too many convention appearances because you got a busy schedule. You need to spend time with your family. So I wanted to know what made you say yes to Walker Stalker Round, and why did you want to support the fans of Atlanta?
Well, you kind of you answered the question yourself. This is my second home, Atlanta, and I always wanted to do something for the home side, really, and also my family have just flown back to England. I have a spare weekend. When I'm not working, my weekends are sacred, and also the podcasts are fantastic. I did some podcasts in between seasons. I loved having a direct relationship with the fans, and also everybody else is here as well, and a lot of grateful undead. There's a lot of people that have died, and it's quite nice to see everybody as well. So it just felt like the perfect storm, really. We do contractually we do an East Coast and a West Coast, but I just think it's very important that we celebrate this city, because I think this city and this state is integral to the success of the show. For so many reasons.
Yeah, I think you showed up as really big for people.
Can you all hear? Because I know it's loud out there.
Just speak up.
Thank you.
Keep you so far away. I didn't know it was going to be so loud.
I know, Joe Blackmon.
Hey.
One of the best things, of course, I think you've done is after your wife died, that we thought you deserved an Emmy for that. Is there something coming out, without giving away a spoiler, in this upcoming season where you have another moment like that where people are just going to go, wow?
You have to. I'm not one of those actors that watches it, so I don't know. But there are some incredible emotional moments, as always, in this show, and this season in particular. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of character development in this season, and also I won't talk about myself so much, but I will talk about Melissa McBride, Emily Kinney, Norman Reedus, Stephen Yeun, Scott Wilson. Wait for Scott Wilson in the next couple of episodes, and everybody is getting their chance to shine, and we have an incredible ensemble of actors here. I'm not one of these people that goes, yeah, I killed that scene, that's just not my style. I try and just give everything I've got every day, and do my best every take. Losing someone as important as Laurie was on so many levels was very difficult, but there's something I've just read. We haven't shot it yet, and I hope I get it right, but there's something very, very big looming that makes me nervous, and a nervous actor is always, in my opinion, a good actor, because it means you care.
Okay, Emma?
Obviously you have a very passionate fan base. I'm curious what you would say is your most memorable fan experience that you've had.
I think it will always be the first Comic-Con. It's that was like we were in the belly of the beast. It was one of the most wild and sort of extraordinary days of my life, because you'd been working on this thing. I'd been so isolated in that first season, in those first 3 episodes. I mean, I was alone for the first 2, and we'd only shot that. Thank you very much. And so it was sort of revealing it to the world, and certainly one of the most fervent, intelligent, and loyal fan bases we could ever wish for, if you get it right. So that was for me, when I heard there was a roar of kind of approval when sort of 30 seconds into the first show reel, the first trailer, people responded to it, and that was just, I don't know if it was joy, but I think it was more relief than anything else.
Great. Tara?
Tara, Geekiary?
I think it was at Comic-Con earlier this year, you mentioned that every choice that Rick, or action that Rick takes or makes comes with a cost. So I was curious if there was one particular one that you felt was most detrimental, or at least had the biggest effect on his current decision to kind of step back in terms of leadership.
It's interesting because I think Sophia was a huge. I spoke in between with the writers' room between 1 and 2, and I said he has to mess up profoundly badly. You know what I mean? If you play a hero, you've got to see a broken man. And I said that to Frank Darabont in the pilot when he arrives back at home and his family's not there and he thinks they're dead. You've got to see a man break, because that's a human being. But then you see the fortitude that happens. I speak about 12 Years a Slave. There's a beautiful moment in it that Chiwetel Ejiofor does during a grave scene that is a very similar moment of, in amongst the hell, there's still hope, and you see a man's strength. I think Sophia was one of those terrible decisions. He should never have left her. He shouldn't. Should never have left her, and that irrevocably changed him, and caused that divide in the group between Shane, the pragmatic, against the humane, but yeah, I think that the shock and the after effect of Laurie's death certainly put him into a place where he was isolated for a lot of last season, and he dealing with his own grief and his own madness, for want of a better. He was very, very distressed and disturbed, and I think that made him loosen the reins on keeping an eye on Carl and Judith. And I think what you're going to see a lot more this season is a man taking responsibility for that above all else.
Fan of Troublemaker?
Yes. Clearly, you are not from the American South, but Rick, your portrayal of Rick is much more than just a learned accent. Your actions and just the way that you do things and think of people, and the being humane that you spoke of just a minute ago. How did you to come to have such a good portrayal of a sort of Southern gentleman, I guess? I just do what's on the page, and hopefully bring as much. I can only bring myself to it, but there are things you heighten and things you lessen when you play a role, and I'm just very, very fortunate that this is one of the great roles of my career that I've been offered, and they keep writing incredible character development. There is something about being around a crew that's from Atlanta, a lot of people from Atlanta. You get it, and shooting in Atlanta, as I said before, I think it's integral to the success of this show. The fact that we film it here. It informs your, like when you learn a different language, or you attempt to, you kind of become a sponge, and that's sort of what my job is, really. And but I'm only doing what's on the page and just filling in and bringing my own take on that, I suppose. But thank you for saying that. I'm honoured that to even be asked from another country to do such a seminal kind of role, that is so American. It's funny, I was talking to Gail, and she was talking, we were listening, my wife, and we were in the car yesterday, and the kids were watching Pinocchio, and we were listening to Pinocchio, and we were driving, and I just went, and it was so hopeful and naive and optimistic and wholesome. And she said, what's happened to the world? Why has it gone so, everything's about sort of consuming and everything. And I said, not in the South. The South still has that old, there's a respectability, and there's a I've just been talking about it, respect between generations, and a politeness and a formality that I think a lot of the world has lost. And I love being here because of those very things. And there's a courteousness, and
I love the Miss, when you get called, when my wife gets called Miss so-and-so or Sir, you know, there are certain things in place here that have been lost in a lot of the rest of the world that I admire still. So maybe just because I dig it, that it helps, you know.
Thank you. Mark?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It was announced earlier, panel earlier today, I think Eric said that you were donating your proceeds from the autographs to charity. I'd like to know what charity and how did you get involved with that?
I didn't really want to talk about charity, if that's all right, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Just because it's a private.
Can I get another question?
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Well, the other thing is we're told not to ask about spoilers and upcoming episodes.
So?
Who on the cast, though, is notorious for kind of having loose lips?
We had Holden, Laurie Holden said something, I think, last season that nobody picked up on. And it was at a convention, I think, and we all were just ripping it out of Laurie for the rest of it, because she just lets, I think it was a death, I think it was somebody's death, you know, maybe it was last season or the season before, but we remember and it was taped, the whole thing, and she just, but it's hard, you know, the difficulty is with this is that we're way ahead of you guys already, and we're desperate to tell you what. You just go, wait. We keep saying, just wait, because it plays out, you know. But I don't think anybody's really done a big goof, you know, apart from me. I think I've said it. Have I said something? No, I think, but that's probably largely one of the reasons why I don't do these events so much, because I can't stop myself from, you know, spoiling things. But no, it becomes like a diplomatic exercise. You become like a politician in this game, because there's so much viral kind of information out there, and it goes so quickly. You have to be very, very careful. But I'm desperate to tell you. I can't wait for you to see this season. That's all. I just want to see how you respond to it, because I think you're going to see some of the best performances from a lot of this cast than you've ever seen. You know, I really do.
I saw tomorrow's episode in advance, and I want to ask you about it, but I can't. So
yeah.
I'm not going to. I know. Well, you are on your third showrunner, Scott Gimple, and I wanted to just ask you what life has been like. How different has it been for the fourth season? Excuse me. There's great continuity in our show. The crew, who were speaking of, to the success of the show, this crew, I would say 85-90% of them have been on this show from the beginning. And I think that is essential to just having a work environment that is so focused and so relaxed, and they know the show. They know when we're hitting the show as performers, because they've been looking through the camera lenses, and they've been doing all of this for 4 years. So there's a lot of as long as we have scripts, everything just runs in the show. It's a beast. And I have to commend Tom Luce and Denise and all of these amazing producers that we have, and the incredible design team that work very, very quickly. They get scripts, 2 weeks before we shoot, and they have to build these beautiful sets. So what I will say is that it's been thrilling this season. I think the storytelling has been magnificent. I think that it's smart this season. I think it will benefit from rewatching episodes, because everything that is said is earned or deserves to be there. Every single line from every single character plays out, and that has been extremely satisfying to read as an actor, but to watch other people perform as well. So I hope you like it.
Thank you. Jason?
Hi, Jason Bailey. I host the morning show here in town at 92.9 The Game, so feel free when you're filming to stop by.
Thank you, Jason.
If you had 100% creative control over your character and maybe the storyline up until now, is there anything that you would have changed? And if so, what would
That's a great question. I would have loved to have had a bit more time with my wife. I just would have had, some more. Sarah Wayne Callies is such a great actress, and I loved working with her so much. And I suppose I would have loved to maybe have more scenes, but the thing is, the beauty of how that informed my character was that it sent me off into this crazy place that we arrived at, and it was brutal and challenging and scary, and so it's difficult in hindsight to kind of go, oh, if we change that, you change it, but then because it changes every other aspect, I'm very, very happy about who this guy is now and where he's at. Just because it's been a different experience this year, playing a guy that's almost like he's holding himself back. He's like a man in the traps. He's reining himself in. But that may not be for long. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.